Today we're looking at the THOR Forex Hammer USD JPY MT5 ICT Power of 3 Expert Advisor. And this one caught my eye because ICT is probably one of the most famous personalities in the Forex world. And to date, my understanding is many of his strategies once tested don't necessarily hold up well in a mechanical setting because there's a lot of discretionary elements to it. However, many good traders like Jade Cap, Kyle, have found a bunch of success with his strategies as well. So that's why I was very curious to see how this developer took a strategy which usually has a bit more of like a discretionary element to it and has put it in a purely mechanical system. So yeah, excited to dive in and see how it works. This video is sponsored by our free Golden Time Bomb Expert Advisor. Take your trading to the next level through automating the London breakout and the opening range breakout. Click the link in the description to download the EA completely for free. This one trades the USD yen, the dollar yen, and it uses the power of 3 strategy, which I believe is based on the accumulation, manipulation, distribution phases. And if you guys are not familiar with accumulation, manipulation, and distribution, this originated in Wyckoff theory, and like it's really very much the godfathers of technical analysis. And it makes a lot of sense, right? The premise behind, and it's rooted in supply and demand. The premise behind accumulation is that's when a large institutional investor is essentially buying up a bunch of orders because they're trying to accumulate without leaving a massive amount of impact on the market. And then in that case, there's going to be manipulation when they would typically see like a fake out or something and try to start to see a bit more of a movement created by smart money. And then distribution is usually when they start to offload their positions and you start to see some more aggressive price action. I am by no means an expert in Wyckoff theory nor this style of trading, so if I butchered it, please let me know in the comments, but I have read some books on the topic as well. So there is a real strategy here. Curious as to if this is actually what's behind the EA. However, if it is, it's quite interesting because it's a unique approach. And at the same time, he's also saying that he's using a basket of indicators which are kind of complementing the underlying strategy. Because when you start doing like Wyckoff or Elliott wave, I find it's a bit harder to code that just because there is a bit more of like a discretionary element. Like Wyckoff, you're looking for various waves, right? So you're looking for like periods and different phases of price action. And then typically you're looking for essentially liquidity grabs where you see like a wick out of a zone and like they have it's called the spring, I believe, in Wyckoff theory, where you then will have a bunch of orders being triggered and you'll anticipate a larger movement in price. That's hard to code. So if you can do that in such a way where you don't have the discretionary element, that's really, really interesting. One of my preferred traders in social media is a guy named Bukhar Asim, and he's a big fan of this style of kind of liquidity-based trading, and it clearly works really well for him. He's quite successful, but putting that in EA form is challenging but interesting. And here we can see that the actual bot has been running for a sizable amount of time, I think since early March, with quite a few trades. And here it's also running on FP Markets, which is a very real broker. And what we're seeing and what I expect is that this is going to be a very scalpy style system. So a 95% win rate with an inverted risk reward. But because the win rate here is so high, it's compensating for that inverted risk reward and more than doing so. So impressive, 63 trades, so good results too. One thing to note is that this is probably not the best strategy for a prop firm, just because you're going to need some higher leverage if you're having this kind of like larger lot size, more scalping style system, and you also are going to be quite spread sensitive. So maybe an FTMO or a 2-phase where you can get a nice amount of leverage on Forex, but if you're very limited in leverage, like in a 1-phase, etc., it's probably not the absolute best bet. And now let's go dive into MT5, where I've taken the liberty of running the backtest. And we are seeing like the classic scalper equity curve, where you have like these ups and downs, and you have the staircase, right? So like it's way up and then down, way up and then down. And this is like the classic like inverted risk reward systems, where you have these like long stretches of winning, and then you're going to have these more choppy periods. There's nothing wrong with this. My missile system is pretty similar to it, actually. Very similar equity curve. You just have to be aware that you're going to enter periods where you have kind of this flat price action and waiting for these big winners, which will make your year, essentially. And we can see here, and I think I ran it with ultra low risk, but indeed it has, like the live signal has been performing exceptionally well. Here the backtest is actually worse than the live signal. I think that the long-term win rate would likely converge closer to this at 86% with a roughly 1 to, not quite 1 to 5 inverted risk reward. But what we're seeing right now is we're in a period like this with the live signal with some losers, but also lots of winners. Probably more like this period right here, actually. So real strategy, scalper, looks pretty solid to me so far. Inputs, there's pretty much no inputs so far, but let's actually run ourselves a visual backtest to see if we can ascertain much of what's going on. We're not seeing too many indicators. Let me see if he's entering with a market. He's selling with limit orders here. Oh, interesting, okay. So with limit entries, let's see, he has take profits too. Wow. So not a trailing stop loss, which is what I would usually expect to see with this style of system. Let me see if I can slow it down for a second so we can see if he's actually trailing in any way, or we can just confirm that. Now it decides not to trade all of a sudden. In the meantime, we can maybe check out the times. The times are looking pretty random to me. Just missed that one. Okay, there we go. So we have both a take profit and a stop loss. So it looks like it's actually using a take profit. And if we go to the journal, let me just run it to the end so we can officially confirm if it's hitting TP or stop loss. But while that runs, I'll give some more thoughts on it. Like, it looks to be, yes, indeed, real bot, price action based. It's entering with a TP and a limit stop. It does appear to have some sort of price action like underlying premise. I'm not enough of an ICT expert to be able to properly evaluate whether or not it's following his exact strategy, but it does appear to be a price action based scalper system. So that could very well be the case. My understanding from ICT is he tends to like massive risk rewards, like super high risk reward. So I'm not so sure if this scalper system is ICT specific, but it could be ICT inspired. So you could be taking the ICT entry and make it more bot appropriate, because trying to go for like a scalping style high risk reward, I have found to be a bit more challenging with especially more like a mean reversion and or Forex style system, whereas like with indices, it can work exceptionally well. But what I can see so far, real strategy, no manipulation in sight, the signal is impressive. The backtest is worse than the live signal, which is actually a very good sign for the real broker. So there's something here. You should just always be mindful that you're gonna have flatter periods and you're gonna have big winning periods with this, and that you probably need a fair amount of leverage. But overall, looks pretty solid. I'm quite impressed. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.